Let's see. So we're actually at the 3 o'clock hour, and our team discussed we're going to start on time today. So I just want to welcome you to our Farm to School 101. This particular webinar, we're going to focus on school gardens. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I wanted to kick us off today by asking you if you would put your name in the chat. This call is being recorded. So if you would put your name, maybe what school or organization you represent, and also just for fun, what do you like to eat around this time of year? We are in the throes of spring, so just curious to know if you'd like to share what you look forward to most this time of year. And while folks are getting into the chat, we're going to welcome everyone who's just joining. Our webinar today, we're going to do a run through of our agenda and kind of go over introductions with the team and dig into today's webinar, which we're excited about, and definitely hope you all take away some nuggets to apply in your school gardens. So yeah, welcome and introductions. We're going to jump into benefits of school gardens, why it's important to have school gardens, why we're having this discussion, garden planning and setup for those of you who are new or you're looking to kind of revise your garden space. This will be a great discussion. Community partnerships and garden spaces. We're going to discuss supplies and safety, engaging local farmers in school gardens, funding your garden, garden care and sustainability, which is a big one, and what you can be planning right now. So as mentioned, we're in spring, so a lot of you are ready to get started. And some of you joining us are actually recipients of our garden bed distribution program, so we're happy to have you join us. And then we have a little extras in there. Some of you are well advanced in your garden programs and you're maybe considering animals or have animals, getting a greenhouse or high tunnel on your school site. And finally, we have a special treat for you all. We have Susan Powell who'll be joining us from Pleasant Hill Elementary to do a live and in-person garden tour of their school garden. So that was just an overview of our agenda today. Again, welcome for those of you just joining us. I'll kick us off with some introductions. My name is Umi Jenkins. I'm the proud director at Mississippi Farm to School Network, based here in Biloxi, Mississippi, and I've been serving in this role now for about 4 years. Pass it over to Sydney.
Hey y'all, Sydney Turnipseed here. I serve as the Associate Director with Mississippi Farm to School Network. I'm based in the Delta in Sumner, Mississippi. And yeah, I'll pass it off to Mary Jo.
Hey everyone, my name is Mary Jo Wilson. I'm the Marketing and Outreach Lead for the Mississippi Farm to School Network, which probably means you might receive newsletters or see our social media updates. That's all me, and be sure to comment and say hey. I'll pass it over to Eddie.
Hey y'all, welcome to this webinar series. We're all really excited to connect with you today. My name is Eddie Dingus. I am the Farm to Early Care Education Specialist here at the Mississippi Farm to School Network, and am really fortunate to join this team and all of you alongside this work. Someone wrote in the chat that they're really looking forward to fried green tomatoes, and I couldn't say I couldn't agree more. So thank you all for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, team. And yes, if you're just joining us, please go ahead and share your name and what organization or school you're from, as well as what you most look forward to for this spring season. And I will pass it over to Mary Jo.
Okay, so we wanted to start by giving a brief overview of Farm to School. So what is Farm to School? Farm to School includes a lot of different components, including education. This could be nutrition education, agricultural education, as well as procurement. So this means getting locally grown fruits, locally grown vegetables from your local farmers, as well as school gardens. So this webinar is focused on school gardens. So that's just one component of Farm to School. So all these together make up Farm to School, and some people just do school gardens, some people just do the education component, and some people do procurement. But when you bring them all together, it makes it super powerful, and that's what makes up a lot of what we do.
Awesome. Thanks, Mary Jo. I'll pass it over to Eddie. She's going to explore with us the benefits of school gardens.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Umi. So I'm sure you all know, because you joined this call, that school gardens have lots and lots of benefits. Gardens, just in particular, I love to be outside and go on a walk if ever I'm feeling overwhelmed, and that's no different for our littlest friends. So you all are probably aware that research shows that health disparities, overall health disparities, and well-being disparities are rooted often in early childhood. So when folks like us who care and programs that offer quality education are offered to young children and their families early on, we can start to turn those health disparities around and look toward healthier outcomes for our students, our farmers, our schools, and our communities. So some of the cognitive, behavioral, social, emotional benefits you can see when you bring farm to school programming to your center, to your organization, to a child's life. Um, you you start giving them place-based education. You teach them where their food comes from. They get really excited about, oh my gosh, we can grow this kind of tomato here, and that makes us special. Um, it improves their bodily awareness. If you can imagine a child sitting in a desk versus a child exploring in the garden, they're going to be growing those gross motor skills much more quickly if they're able to move around, feel where they are, grip and grasp flower stems or plant stems, that sort of thing. It enhances hands-on learning and is a really, really great tool if you have the ability to get outside with your chaotic, completely dysregulated class. It's a great way to calm everybody down because it gives them something to focus on. It expands the size of your learning space. Some of us have some small classrooms. But we can go into the out of doors, and there is a massive classroom out there just for us. And if we have farm to school programming, there's so much more we can teach our children and one another, like we're doing today. You can, in the garden, you can develop essential life skills like teamwork or big work, fine and gross motor skills, like I was talking about before, and critical thinking. You can do mathematic lessons in the garden, science lessons in the garden, lots of essential skills, academic and otherwise, that are happening in these growing spaces. Provides more opportunity for community engagement. You all know that we are all wearing a million hats already, and we need help in order to make our gardens thrive for our communities. So it's an excellent way, if you have the time, to reach out to parents in your community, caregivers, other organizations, master gardeners, grandparents, and beyond, and ask them, hey, come and support our garden. And it facilitates those relationships and friendships for a long time come in. And everybody, of course, gets excited about the growing season together. Winter, not so much, but you still get to work together and clean up. It supports the local economy, through procurement. So if your center is working with, receives the CACFP, the Child and Adult Care Food program, if you're receiving funding through there and you're getting monies to get local fresh food, or you're working with a community supported agricultural hub, if you're going to, my local one here in Oxford is Chicory Market, run by the amazing Betsy Chapman. You're supporting farmers and your local economy by sharing the wealth, right? Bringing those foods to you. And then, of course, finally, it encourages healthier eating habits. And what do healthier eating habits do for all of us? They mean healthier health outcomes for all of us in the future.
Awesome. That is a lot. And I'm sure some of you who are actively engaged would love to elaborate on your experiences in the garden and how these programs benefit you and your space. So yeah, let's dig in. Thank you for those of you who are just joining us. We're exploring school gardens today and some tips on how you can manage, maintain, start. So the first is garden planning basics. And this is important because before you even get started, you want to make sure you have the necessary components so your garden will thrive, so everyone is safe. So choosing the right location is key. One of the first things you want to consider. There have been some sites where they may have an amazing little nook or spot or a little alleyway in the school, in between buildings that may seem like an ideal space. However, it could be limited sunlight, or the water spigot is way too far. So before you even get started, ensure that these things are in place. So spigots and rain barrels are options for water access. And you also want to plan your garden based on the school's needs. It could be your classroom needs. It could be things that you all discussed you want to grow. So if this is for attracting pollinators or someone wants to do a flower farm, all of these considerations should be kind of panned out before you jump in. You can always start small and grow. That's really important to note, whether it's starting in paper cups, doing something in the classroom, to bigger full-on acreage or raised beds on site at your school. And also, I apologize if we didn't state before, please feel free to add those questions in the chat. And as we wrap up the presentation today, we'll have space for Q&A and also some share outs. All right, so finding a garden location. This is important, let's say, for example, when school space is not available. So if you have an early childcare center, or even at your school, there may be certain restrictions or something that might be limiting your ability to start the garden at your school. So if that's the case, some other considerations would be a faith-based organization, such as a church or mosque. They often have lots next to their place of worship that they're eager or willing to lend for community use, especially for something like growing food. Community gardens is an excellent option, whether you have access to the garden, like full access, or you just want to get a few beds or a bit of space at that community garden. So in that bottom picture there, that's 34th Street and Gulfport. And the students from Gulfport High actually come out pretty regularly to explore. And the teacher simply wanted about 3 or 4 beds for students to do this kind of practice. They've since started their own school, their own school garden is thriving, but that was once their option for exploring school gardens. And then here we have community centers or parks, always an excellent option. They're often safer and you can garner some community support. Other creative options would be vacant lots with city or nonprofit permission, rooftop spaces, and even collaboration with local businesses. So it is important to go ahead and start building those partnerships with folks who you think might be willing to support your garden program. Okay, so once you've located that space and you're curious, these are some questions that you want to maybe pose to whoever whoever's over the lot or over that land. So again, it goes back to water access or irrigation. Safety and security is really important for your garden space, and this also applies at school, on your school grounds. So considers the area safe for students. Can the garden be locked or monitored if needed? Ownership and permission, who owns the land if this is not on school grounds. Sunlight and soil quality, again, is very important. So for example, there may be a community center, but perhaps it's a little too close to a busy roadway. It's a little too close to, let's say, some type of commercial processing plant or something like that. So as you look around the environment, determine, hey, is this a place where I want to grow food? Are there is the soil possibly compromised? There were once building and structure there. It was torn down and now there's glass and big boulders in the dirt. That could definitely be pose a threat. So think about those things as well, accessibility as well as long-term use. Do we plan to be in this space for the whole school year? Is this something we want to do seasonally, just as experimentation? We can access this space. So think about how long you intend to use it and if you're able to sustain that location. Okay, gardening options for any space. And these are some flexible growing solutions if you simply don't have access to land, like, the school lot may be small. You may have to share that space with other activities that are happening at the school. So you may have limited growing space, in which case you can consider containers and pots. Excellent way to grow. Uses up much less space, like the examples you see here. They're mobile, they can be moved around. Similar with grow bags and raised beds we love. Just helps for a more organized way of growing, more aesthetic, great drainage. So there are options available to you, so don't feel discouraged, again, if you don't have access to a full site or land for some more expansive growing. All right, and the tip here is anything can be planted with good drainage and healthy soil, which I love that. I'm not sure if Mr. Tracy Galloway is on the chat, but when I first met this farmer here on the coast, they grew so much food out of so many different creative things. I mean, coolers and an old bathtub from one of the homes. It was turned into a really beautiful little garden. So I just thought that was great. If you are going to grow out of something non-traditional, make sure that the materials that it's made out of suits you're comfortable with it. So for example, not everyone wants to grow out of plastic. So you may want to consider more environmentally friendly ways. All right, soilless growing. This is another great way to grow. I think someone's monitoring the waiting room there. Soilless growing. So you have hydroponics, aquaponics, aeroponics. This is something that can be done in the classroom, which is another fantastic way to integrate STEM. If you want to get more into science, if you want to find ways to use less soil, to use less water, these are great options. Definitely encourage you to research. There are schools around the state that are actively growing in the classroom, whether it's through a tower garden or some other means of hydroponics. But really fun, cool way. It's possibly more sustainable for some of you, especially if outdoors in the 100-degree weather is not your thing, you know, during the growing season. These are some pretty cool options. All right, seasonal gardening and practical planning. As we mentioned, timing, watering, and supplies are key when starting your garden space. Again, if you're starting small, you won't have too many things to really worry about. I think as you begin to expand your garden and there's more things you're growing or more students involved, you definitely want to do your part to prepare. So plan your garden around the seasons. This is something we encourage. If you know school is going to be out during a certain time, or if you know there's maybe limited staff support during a certain time of the year, you want to consider that. But when it comes to the season, we plant for spring. Things like lettuce and carrots and beets and radish. You can think about planting those types of seasonal foods. We'll talk more later in the presentation about things you can be getting in the ground now. During the summer months when it's really hot, we plant things that thrive in the heat, that are pretty heat tolerant, such as tomatoes, peppers, okra. Setting a watering schedule is important. As you get your plants in the ground or your seeds in the ground, can't just abandon it. You have to check on your seedlings. You have to make sure the soil is moist so your plants thrive. Because keep in mind, your students are also invested in what they plant. So it's important to know, how often do I need to water, or what did we plant and where? So this is where also marking your plants, and these small details can be really beneficial in sustaining your garden. And something we didn't mention here as well is fruit trees. These are considerations if you do have the space to plant more. Consider putting some fruit trees on site at your school or early childcare center. This could be persimmons or lemon trees or fig trees, grapevines, all types of considerations that'll be amazing in your garden as the season progresses. So I added this slide in here really quickly for those of you who get seed packets or you get them donated or pick them up from the library. Do encourage your students to look at the back of the seed packet so that they know how to plant. This can also help to save on seed costs. If you're purchasing seeds or have purchased them in the past, you don't want to waste those seeds, right? We want to make sure we're maximizing our resources. So you can flip that pack of seeds over. It'll tell you the information you need to know. How deep do I plant it? How far apart do I plant it? How much water does it need? I'm quick to go on YouTube. I'll watch a quick video sometimes just for the visual of how to care for a plant or when to harvest. So those are some helpful tips. Or something else I was about to mention. Oh, I have seen many, many times when students get the seeds or access to the seeds, they can all be kind of poured into the garden space, which is cool. It's fun. They're experimenting and exploring. However, when the seeds start to sprout, if it's something like zucchini that needs a lot of space, or something like melons that needs a lot of space, a lot of those seeds can get wasted because of the the space that the plants need to grow is not there. So you can either thin those plants out. This is my garden brain kicking in. You can thin those plants out by pulling them up and replanting them in the proper space. And or you can kind of hand your seeds out to ensure better, you're just being a more resourceful versus giving them full control over the planting. All right, just some visuals here of things you can plant, what's in the garden now. Here on the coast, we planted carrots, and celery, tomatoes, herbs, okra, cucumbers. Again, most of this can be planted in containers. It can also be planted in ground and in raised beds. So plant, explore, reach out if you need support when it comes to getting your garden going. But of course, these are all things we encourage as the exploration so that you as an educator or caregiver, you feel more confident in introducing your students to the garden. So garden purpose and theme ideas, Eddie did share with us the benefits, but there's more to that. You want to maybe figure out, well, why am I growing this garden? What exactly do we want to do with the produce? What exactly or how do we want to design our garden? So there's some really cool ideas floating around online. You can go on Pinterest. You can find ideas for use and activities with the vegetation. You're also welcome to reach out to Eddie, who's in the early childcare space, or myself, Mary Jo or Sydney, for some technical assistance or support in managing your garden space, as well as activities and curriculum building. Some theme garden ideas like herb spirals, pizza gardens, and anything that, of course, attracts butterflies and birds. So you might want to put a fountain, you might want to put bird feeders, you might want to have students design art that can hang on a fence or be a part of the garden space. So anything to engage. And then of course, once they harvest, there are even more activities you can incorporate so that they can work with the food and taste the food, sense the food, and explore ways to apply that in their diet. So I'm going to pause here and turn it over to Mary Jo as she goes into some more detail about garden supplies and garden safety.
Thank you so much, Emmy, for your wealth of knowledge. So for garden supplies, we do want to encourage you to start small. We want to encourage you to leverage what you have and explore what's best for you. So many of these garden tools are not required for every garden to thrive. So you can get a few of the basics or whatever you think you need. We've got things like trowels and hand rakes, shears and pruners. You want to make sure that you supervise students when they're using things that are sharp like that. You also want to make sure you have a designated storage bin or shed for these tools, just for safety purposes. You also want to make sure you have things like a first aid kit, sunscreen, or bug repellent, especially in those warmer summer months, or even in August, or even all throughout the year. And Umi did talk about seeds. You can also get transplants from the garden, but when you do this, you won't be able to maximize the amount of harvest that you would with seeds. You also want to make sure that you get soil and compost and have a plan for what kind of raised bed or container you want to use. There are unique ways that you can leverage all sorts of things. I've used buckets, grow bags. The fabric grow bags are really easy, and you can even pick them up and put them somewhere else if you realize that you didn't actually put them in a place that gets a lot of sun. And then we've also got some optional tools that are also helpful, things like journals or clipboards for students to observe and see what's going on in the garden. They can track the amount of leaves that are growing. They can tell the difference between weeds and the crop that you're growing, or even the transition from the flower to fruit. You can talk about all these things in the garden. So there is a lot of things that you can get, but you want to, stick with what you need. You don't need every single garden tool that's out there, and it can get overwhelming when you're in the garden store and see everything, but just stick to the basics and leverage what you have. And then next we'll get into some garden safety. Garden safety is really important, and it's very important to establish a safety plan. If you're currently gardening and are gardening with students and you have a safety plan, put a watermelon in the chat. I want to see how many of us are thinking about safety while we're in the garden. So some tips that we can think of is we want students to walk, not run in the garden. We want students to use tools properly and ask for help if they need. We also want them to be mindful of others when using sharp tools like those pruners or trowels. And then kids under 4, they're going to need an adult. They're going to need extra supervision and extra guidance, especially with their short attention spans. And then we also want to make sure students are washing their hands after their gardening, as well as staying hydrated and taking water breaks at least every 30 minutes. Also, in the hot months, we want to make sure they take a break in the shade and stay on the lookout for bugs and critters, poisonous plants like poison ivy or poison oak, as well as look out for hot surfaces and heat. So if you see some tool that's been sitting outside in the hot sun for all day, you don't want them to touch it and get burned. We also want to think about what to wear in the garden. We want to make sure we wear closed-toe shoes, no flip-flops. So much like if you're doing a lab in school in science, you want to make sure you're wearing the appropriate equipment. It's just like being in the garden. You also want to make sure you wear comfortable clothing that you don't mind getting dirty. You want to wear gloves to protect your hands, as well as providing sun protection, maybe wearing a hat, wearing sunglasses, making sure to put sunscreen on to prevent any sun damage. We know the sun's brutal out there these days. And then we also want to make sure we're wearing long sleeves or pants if we're working with prickly pants or we're in the direct sun for a very long time. And then I will pass it over
I think
back to Umi.
awesome. Thank you so much for that, Mary Jo. Safety and supplies, two critical things for the flow of your space. And just want to put emphasis on like the bug repellent and such. I've been at some school spaces and it may not be apparent that mosquitoes are really an issue, especially when the children are out kind of in the space, poking around in the garden. So just ensure you have those barriers so that they're comfortable as well, safe and comfortable while they're gardening. So we're going to jump into engaging local farmers in school gardens. And this is one of my favorite things to do because oftentimes for many schools and early childcare centers, field trips are just not possible, or maybe they're limited to how many field trips they can take, so they're not able to go to the farm. But having the farmer come out to your site is exciting. It's an excellent way for them to learn more about their food source and other aspects of agriculture, as well as careers in agriculture. So there are a few ways you can collaborate with farmer. Guest visits, invite them to come out and share stories, demonstrate some tools and what they're used for. Hands-on help. Farmers can assist you all in getting your garden going. They can provide their expertise and insight as to how to make your garden better, how to get it started. So that's always a great place for expertise in this space is welcoming farmers on site. Farm tours. If you have the resources to do so, we encourage you to organize a visit to a nearby farm so students can explore the animals, how they're cared for, harvesting, equipment, and so forth. And these are also excellent opportunities for farmers to get to share more, or basically raise awareness about their farm. So they're also looking to connect more with the public. So these are great ways to engage them. There's crop connections. You can coordinate crops that are grown at your school with what is seasonally grown locally. So these are great ways to talk about and share seasonal and regional food sources. So again, if you're looking to connect with the farmer, you can reach out to a local farm by Googling that, your area, farms in the area. Farmers markets are a great way to connect with folks. They're right there in person. Introduce yourself, ask they'd be interested to come out. You can highlight, or as an incentive, highlight the impact that for this farmer, for him or her to come out to your site, it offers student engagement, community connection, and again, visibility for their farm. And so make it easy for them. You want to have some flexible time slots if possible. Recognition and refreshments are helpful, especially if they're coming out in the hot sun. So just a way to make sure everyone is comfortable. All right, I'll pause here, and Sydney is going to lead us into how we can fund and maintain our garden space.
Yeah, I think a lot of questions that we get asked are about funding and grants and resources, because while you can salvage and kind of pull together some things to get a garden going, soil and seeds and staff time does cost money. So there's a number of different avenues that you can take in terms of finding funding for your school garden. One that we always like to recommend first is to use a sponsorship or donation letter. And this can go to local businesses, but also garden centers. We've seen a lot of positive feedback, success with taking these letters to garden centers. So we have a template that we'll send out after the call, but you'll fill in your information, your school, what project you're trying to do. And oftentimes like Lowe's, like Home Depot maybe too, has donated soil seeds or transplants. But you can also request cash donations from local businesses. And we can go to the next slide. Thanks. And apart from sponsorships, you can also apply for grants. So there's a list of current and upcoming grants that fund school gardens particularly. So the Mississippi Department of Agriculture has an open grant right now. It's a very simple application. I believe it's $500 per school. And all of these are links that you'll get after the call, but I highly recommend you apply for that. You do have to have the funds spent by June 15th. With that said, though, they usually open it up every year. So if you don't make it in time this year, definitely apply next year. And we will always send updates in our newsletter and on social media and on our website about available grants for gardens. This Roots and Shoots is another opportunity that has a May 4th deadline. I found an opportunity through FFA. So if there's a local FFA chapter in your area, you can partner with them, and the grant is specifically to fund school gardens. Johnny's Seeds, this isn't particularly a grant, but they will sometimes provide seeds for free. So that's a link too. You can just fill out the short form. Another seed company, So True Seeds, they always offer a 20% discount for schools. So keep that in mind when you're looking for seeds. And both of these are really high quality seed providers. So we definitely recommend them. And So True also does a yearly donation program, and it opens November 30th. We've done that before, and it's a very easy process. So we'll remind y'all around that time to apply. Captain Planet is a long-running school garden grant. And their website says check back in September 25 to see when it's open. So I just wanted to put that out there. And we definitely wanted to mention the USDA Patrick Leahy grant. As many of you know, the grant was canceled for this year, but has had a long-standing impact in funding farm to school programs. So we are hearing that it will be opening back up for next year, with applications opening at the end of this year. So stay tuned. We still encourage you to apply, and we're happy to help with applications. And then another resource for grants is kidsgardening.com. They often are posting available opportunities. Oh, and I wanted to ask if anyone's ever received or applied for a grant for their school garden. If so, you can raise your hand or put it in the chat. We'd love to hear it. And if you have, if you know of other available grants for school gardens, we would love for you to share it with everyone else on the call. And outside of grant opportunities, there are a number of creative fundraising ideas that you can take advantage of. So one thing that we've seen to be successful is to get your PTA or center families involved, have a garden committee or a watering club with the parents. That's often a good way to get help for, volunteers for the garden. And sometimes they're really good at coming up with these fundraisers. Bake sale, yard sale, or a plant sale is one way that you could generate some revenue to fund your school garden. You can host an event with a local restaurant where a percent of the proceeds go towards funding your garden. auction or raffle or a similar event. Seed donations, you can ask your community and like a local garden club or just community organizations, if anyone's willing to donate seeds. A lot of times gardeners will save their own seeds, so it doesn't hurt to ask folks if they have any extras. And crowdsourcing is also an option. So that's GoFundMe or simply just doing a campaign, asking community members or parents or anyone who's able to give to support your school garden.
Awesome. That is all helpful information. Thank you for that, Sydney. So you've got your garden going and you've had a great season, but school's coming to a close. Maybe you have a holiday break. So summer garden maintenance is important. This could be a reason why folks choose to not even plant the next year, is because they've got an overgrown space. So in order to kind of maintain your garden space, we would encourage you to form a garden team with staff at your school or folks who are regularly participating on site or that would have access. That garden team is, again, could be teachers, staff, students, community members, and that helps to kind of distribute the responsibilities around so there's no one person responsible for everything. Watering, growing, maintenance, a rotating schedule makes it manageable. Family volunteers is helpful. We also have cover and protect the garden beds. So if you're growing in raised beds or if you're growing just on the ground or you have some containers or something of that sort, you can always cover those in order to suppress the weeds, smother out the weeds, and that helps to reduce the amount of maintenance getting back into the growing season. Mulch is mentioned here, tarps, as well as planting cover crops. I think like chickweed or clover. There are some examples of cover crops online that you can plant just over summer to keep the soil rich. Another way to keep your garden maintained is to stay connected with the folks who are involved. And then also just like on social media, or if there's a school newsletter, you can share some simple garden updates through emails or a chat. So this engages your team, and this also can encourage folks to participate who weren't before when you talk about it, what's going on and what the plan is for the space. So we found this could be helpful over the summer, and you may have access to some funding where you can support the space even more, whether that's through even a position for someone at your school to manage. So moving along into your garden, again, these are some helpful tips if you are growing and let's say you don't know a lot about gardening and you're an educator and you're trying to get your students involved. We wanted to provide some insight here so that you can apply these things in your space and hopefully have success growing. So companion planting is one of those recommendations to prevent or to mitigate pest. So companion planting, as it's stated here, is basically pairing plants together for things like improving the growth, deterring pests, and to just really make the most of your space and beautifying as well. So for example, if you're planting tomatoes, you may want to pair that with basil. In the picture here, this looks like a tomato plant and some marigolds that are planted kind of in between. So again, this is for management of the space. It's important because it teaches students about ecosystems, about teamwork, and also natural pest control. We do know a lot of folks, maybe at home or in their own garden space will use these different maybe synthetic or toxic or harmful modalities to manage weeds or manage pests, and we don't want to encourage that. So companion planting is one way to just demonstrate easy and natural ways of managing, certain garden issues like pests. I hope you all are writing down some of your questions or adding them in the chat or thinking about what you want to ask as we come kind of wrap up our presentation here. And we want to make sure we're providing helpful information for you. So building healthy soil for your raised beds, this can be or can seem a bit overwhelming getting started if you're not too familiar with gardening. So you can start very simple. You can purchase garden soil already in the bag, and you won't have to do a whole lot of formulating and mixing. If you'd like to mix your soil blends, or you have a greenhouse and you want to do some seed starting, you can create your own formula. We have a formula here for your raised bed. It's 40% of topsoil, 40% compost, bagged or homemade. We'll talk about compost in another slide, composting. And then 20% aeration material. This may be vermiculite or perlite or sand. So again, this may depend on what you're growing, but to keep it simple, you can all together go into your commercial store, your local nursery, and request raised bed mix. They'll either already have it in bulk, you can get a truckload, or you can purchase it in the bags. Avoid mixes with synthetic fertilizers or chemical additives when possible. Oftentimes on the organic soil blends, it'll say it on the bag, organic raised bed mix, or you just want to read, and if it's stuff you can't identify and can't pronounce, you might want to steer clear. Why this all matters: healthy soil supports root development. Remember, students are just as invested in the garden. If you've purchased transplants or you've somehow managed to find seeds and get good quality seeds planted, you don't want them to go to waste, right? So we want to prep our space for the most success for our plants, and our students are excited to see fruit growing on their tomato plant or eggplant or okra. Sorry, let me go back one slide. And also with quality soil, it helps again to reduce pest and disease. If you don't like a lot of gnats and critters and things like that, you do want to ensure that you have the best quality soil. Composting for raised beds, or you can compost just the compost for soil. I'm sure there's someone on joining us today that has a little more experience in building up soil, but I know for sure that this is a great way to get students engaged in that ecosystem and soil quality, and it begins with composting. So they can do this in the classroom. You can get the proper container for doing composting indoors, but I know a lot of folks who have it outside, kind of in the garden where their compost bin or compost station is set up. Keep in mind, these are organic food scraps. No chicken bones, no leftover spaghetti, no Domino's pizza should be going in your compost. These are the fruit and veggie scraps, your onion peels, your garlic scraps, your apple peels, things like that. Coffee grounds, tea bags, eggshells are perfect. Students might want to bring in some. My mom cooked last night. We had some eggshells or some carrot scraps. You can encourage them to bring it in. They can put it in a little Ziploc. And certainly we don't want them hauling around rotting food in their book bag. So it might want to be, like a weekly thing where they can do this. So find ways to engage composting in the classroom. Leaves, grass clippings, paper towels, all of that can also help reduce waste there at school. Some compost tips: use a simple bin or pile. You want to turn it regularly and keep it moist. This is important because compost does produce a gas. It is food that is breaking down, and that can potentially catch fire in the heat of the summer if left unattended and there's wood or dry grass. So I do want to caution you about where you set up your compost, and turning it means taking kind of a pitchfork or whatever and just turning the soil, turning the compost. I like to layer mine with a little soil, also to deter animals and things from sniffing around the compost. You might want to add in some dry leaves, some straw, some soil, and do some layers there. So just some tips on compost. And it does add nutrients and these things back into the soil. So once it starts to break down, you all can take that to the garden bed and add it back into the soil. Another option is they can add food scraps directly into the garden bed. You may have a bed just designated for food scraps, so they can bury their food scraps in the garden bed. That's another option if you don't want to deal with containers and setting up a whole station. All right, we are getting there, y'all. Engaging animals on site and learning through care. I think this is amazing. Does anyone on the call today have animals at their site? You can give a thumbs up or leave an emoji in the chat. Do you have any animals, or are you thinking about incorporating animals at your site? Please let us know. And why would we want to have animals on site? So things like animals like chickens, ducks, rabbits, they bring hands-on learning. This is a great opportunity for stewardship. We're always encouraging students around environmental stewardship. Caring for animal life is a responsibility. It does encourage teamwork. and it's very much a developmental thing. So we're encouraging STEM related programs, science, tech, engineering, all of that. And I feel having animals on site really supports that. So composting connections, remember the manure can also help to enrich the soil. So that's a win if you choose to have chicken. I'm honestly not sure if all animals manure, like I think ducks, rabbits. Someone may know if all animal manure is acceptable as soil enrichment. I know for sure like horse and chicken manure, but add it in the chat if you know. This also encourages routine chores, so daily learning opportunities for students to go and add water to the little feeder or change this or do that. So great exercises for students. And awesome. We are pretty much at the end of our slides here. I'm going to pause and Mary Jo's going to go over some additional resources. We're going to do a little Q&A and then get ready for our virtual garden tour with Pleasant Hill Elementary.
Hello again, everyone. Thank you, Umi, for that. Some additional resources that we provide are especially highlighted in our monthly newsletter, which you can sign up for on our website. We share the latest resources, events, webinars like these, and through other organizations, as well as funding opportunities. So you want to make sure you sign up for that to stay up to date with our monthly newsletter, as well as we just launched a Mississippi School Garden Network Facebook group. So this is going to be a space for educators to learn from each other, connect, share ideas, share photos of what you've grown, share successes, share challenges, so we can all just join that and help each other out. And once we send these slides out, these are all linked right here, and you can click the link as well, and we'll also share in an email. We've also got a guide, 4 Steps to Cultivating a School Garden. There's a lot of great information in here, as well as another supply list, benefits to a school garden, kind of some just some tips on forming a team, a garden team that can help oversee the garden, as well as a Mississippi Vegetable Gardening Guide. This is by the Mississippi State Extension Service, and it's really helpful with garden planning and when you're thinking about what you want to plant, what grows well in your zone, what time of the year is it, what can you grow at this time of the year. It is very thorough and very helpful when you're thinking about planting your garden, or if you're in the middle of gardening and you want to get some tips on what you're growing. We also have a growing organic guide. So this guide is going to give you some tips on integrating organic practices into your school garden initiatives. Things like, what type of fertilizer do I use to make sure it's organic and doesn't have any harmful ingredients in it? We don't want to use any harmful ingredients when we're growing food for our students or for any children to eat. We also have a fresh produce guide. This guide features 60 different types of fresh vegetables and herbs, including how to identify them, how to store them and prepare them, as well as tips on storing them to get the most out of your produce. You've worked so hard to grow these vegetables and these fruits. You don't want them to go to waste. So you want to maximize your use for them. We also do have our youth leadership cohort. We're wrapping up our 2024-2025 cohort right now at the end of the school year. So our last meeting will be next week, but we will be relaunching it. We will be completely relaunching it for the next school year. So it'll be our 2025-2026 youth leadership cohort. And this is a group that throughout the school year, students get to engage virtually in monthly meet and learn sessions where they can explore nutrition, gardening, food systems, as well as agriculture education. So if you know of any students that would be interested in participating in this program, or if you even have children yourself that would like to participate, we would love to have them join us and learn along with us. And then we also have our contact information right here. We are on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll post a lot of updates on there, as well as our website where you can sign up to our newsletter. And then if you have any questions that didn't get answered in this, or that you think of after the Q&A and after we're off the call, you can feel free to email me any question you have at all, and I will be happy to answer. And we're going to start our Q&A part. I'll pass it off to Umi.
All right. Thank you all for sticking with us. So yeah, we went through those slides rather quickly. I wanted to leave space for our garden tour. Did anyone have any questions on what was shared? I guess I should open the chat.
We have a few questions from participants that I can share, Umi. So one of the first questions, it seemed that when you were talking about hydroponics, everybody got really excited, or a number of participants did. So folks were interested, I believe, in any hydroponics, like growing hydroponics resources that you could point them to. But one person in particular wanted to know if there were hydroponic towers you would recommend.
As far as resources to point to, I would definitely love to connect you with the administrator at Gulfport High here. They have both aquaponics and hydroponics, and could tell you more about setting up their system. I don't have direct experience with, setting it up or how that works, but would love to connect you. So we can include that resource. Tower Garden donated 2 Tower Gardens to our org, and we've yet to see kind of how they sustain over time, but that is one, I guess, company that does offer support for schools that are looking to do tower gardens, which I believe is a aeroponic, a form of hydroponics. But I'm happy to accumulate some resources and point you in the right direction to someone who can elaborate more. And maybe that's even worth us doing a future webinar and talk more about in the classroom growing and how that works.
Thank you for that. I know a lot of people were excited. So another question that we got, and this actually happened. Sonia asked, can you please reference me to Gulfport about the towers? And I think, Sonia, that what we'll do is we'll follow up with resources and let you know how you can either get in contact with us or with Gulfport if you're interested in this initiative. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Another thing that I wanted to share with folks, because a number of folks asked about whether they could get these resources after the fact. So I wanted to just let everybody know and reassure you that what our team will do following this webinar, we have the recording. We'll send the recording to you. We'll also send all of the slides with the hyperlinks to those resources to you. So make sure we have your correct email address on file. If you do not receive something from us about this webinar by early next week, please reach out to myself, Eddie at MississippiFarmToSchool.org, or Mary Jo Wilson, our marketing and outreach lead at Mary Jo at MississippiFarmToSchool.org, and we'll make sure that you get those. I think our final question happened sort of was centering about how do I connect with certain farmers? So I didn't know, maybe Mary Jo or Umi could take on that question.
I'll go ahead. Yeah, we actually, so a good way to connect with your local farmers is to find your local farmers market, and you can go in person and talk to them and see what they grow, see if they're interested in coming to visit the school or having a farm tour at their farm, and also being able to purchase directly from them at the farmers market. Another way is we're working on this map. It's not a complete map, but we do have it and we'll share it after the fact. And you can look in your local area to see what farms are near you, if they offer a CSA program, that is community supported agriculture, and you can pay a certain amount and receive these boxes from farmers of products that they offer. So there's a number of ways that you can connect with farmers. And Umi, am I missing anything? I feel like I might be missing.
I'm sorry. What was the question again? I was reading the chat, y'all.
Just some more ways that they can connect with local farmers markets through our farmers map. You can also do a quick Google search to see who is nearby.
Yeah, and I know in Mississippi there's like the Small Farmers Conference. There are different conferences and kind of workshops happening around the state. So if you're connected on Facebook, it's good to do a search there. You can follow us. Mary Jo is great at putting updates about events and conferences and workshops in our newsletter. So that's another great way I can think of. I've met a number of farmers while attending ag conferences.
Thanks, y'all. There were 2 questions specific to the Clarksdale area and Greenville area farmers. We've shared in the chat with the person that was interested in connecting with Clarksdale School District and any Clarksdale area farmers. But we have also, I've taken notes to reach out to the person that is interested in connecting with a Greenville area farmer. So we'll be in touch about that. And that's it. That's all the questions that we had come through on the chat for today.
All right, wonderful. Sorry I didn't get to see y'all's faces today, but I'm happy you were able to join. Are there any other questions you'd like to come off mute and ask? And because we're still waiting on Miss Susan to join us for our garden tour at Pleasant Hill Elementary. So we've got it a minute or two. I just want to make sure you all feel more confident than when you started the call today in your school gardens. All right. And for those up near northern Mississippi there, Clarksdale, I know Higher Purpose Hub, they've hosted workshops. They just did a raised bed workshop at the Higher Purpose Hub there in Clarksdale. And they have a number of farmers in their network as well.
We also, just speaking about our Mississippi Farmers Map that Mary Jo has put together, and we're all working on sort of synthesizing information across the state to update the map as we go. If you are or you know any farmers that you could connect with us, there's no way that we've captured all of the farmers and food hubs and CSAs in the state of Mississippi on this farmers map. So if you have any recommendations for us, again, you can reach out to myself. That's Eddie at MississippiFarmToSchool.org or Mary Jo at MississippiFarmToSchool.org with those recommendations. We can get in touch with that farm, or you can send us all their contact information and we'll put them on the map. And that is super, super helpful for all of us here in working with the centers and schools that we do, because we work across the state and we need folks and partners across the state to work with us. So you're doing us a favor by doing that.
Yes, for sure. And I wanted to add too, if you all have any festivities happening on site at your school or in your community, we'd love to do some tabling there. We could set up a booth and share more with the community about Farm to School. So please include us. Feel free to invite us if there's any type festivals or locally events centered in health, nutrition, agriculture, any youth activities. Yeah, we'd love to support that. So it looks like Ms. Susan will be joining us here in a minute or two.
If anyone is interested in doing some work at the state level, part of my position as the Farm to EC specialist is facilitating a statewide coalition called the Mississippi Farm to ECE Coalition. We have 3 working groups. They're subcommittees. Our coalition meets once or twice a year. But our working groups, our ECE providers working group is a subcommittee made up primarily of early childcare and education providers and folks that support ECE providers. We're currently working on menu templates that are state approved and CACFP approved to take that administrative burden off of our kitchen staff and administrators at ECE centers. We also are working to develop a virtual farm tour to get to our centers that may or may not have the capacity to get to a farm in person, but we still want to share the beauty of farms with our kids and our centers. We have another group on the coalition, and that is our subcommittee working toward a quality rating and improvement system specialization badge for farm to ECE work. So that's for centers that have gardens, are proud of their garden work, or are doing farm to ECE work in some way. Of course, if you want to join either of those groups, it's about an hour commitment a month at present. We finally have our third working group, which meets once quarterly for about an hour, and we communicate via email afterward or between meetings. But that one is for engaging stakeholders and partners through policy, outreach, marketing. So if you're into, sharing the word of farm to ECE work, we'd love to have you on board. Or just really energetic about it. We need that energy. So if you're interested in joining our coalition or any of those working groups, you can reach out to me at eddie@mississippifarmtoschool.org. I'd love to have you and hear from you.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you. I was trying to do the little single emoji and the whole cloud went up.
I did want to add one thing that came to mind while we wait on Susan, a question that comes up often regarding school gardens. And that is if there are food safety or regulations around if you can serve the produce that you grow in the cafeteria. And by the state, currently, it's up to the school district. So you just have to follow your normal food safety plan that your child nutrition director knows about and follows with the normal produce that they procure. And there's no strict requirements from the Department of Education other than practice food safety. And we have a checklist that we can share with you.
And I don't know if you have all previously seen that this is part of a series. So we will be continuing this series as a part of Farm to School 101. We will continue to talk about also farm to ECE, procurement. We'll also get into nutrition and agriculture education. So if you stay tuned and stay connected with us on social media and our newsletter, you will see the next upcoming one maybe in the summertime, but it will definitely be upcoming. And we look forward to seeing you all there to learn more about Farm to School and all of the different components that make it whole. We talk a lot about food systems work as well. So we'll be doing a lot of system-wide thinking.
Thank you for that. And there's a food safety checklist there in the chat. So this is definitely helpful. And again, no matter the size of your site, so as Mary Jo, Eddie mentioned about early childcare, this could be, your home, daycare, after school programs, that could be as few as a handful of children. So definitely consider that moving forward. It looks like Miss Susan has joined us. So I will pause here, Mary Jo, and let y'all kick us off.
Hey, Susan. Hey, could you two introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about the Farm Club?
Absolutely. Okay, I'm Susan Powell. I'm one of the sponsors, and we have Tiffany Lyles and Rachel Barrett. There are three of us that do this. And then I've got this precious child that has gardened with me now 4 years, and he's going to take you on a little tour. We have Farm Club right now from 3:30 until 5. So you'll see our 25, we have to cap it so that it's really manageable. But in the fall and spring, they can sign up, and we have 25 on Wednesday afternoons working. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this around. We're looking in the sun to see. Do you see where to turn it? It's gonna be on us. Sorry.
No worries. We know
That
you're
is
out there in the
okay.
garden, and
You
it's
see where to
bright.
turn? You see it? Because
And
we're
this
out in the
is
bright.
Pleasant Hill Elementary School in Olive Branch, Mississippi.
We're not seeing where to turn the camera around. Let's see. Can you remind me, Mary Jo, where do we turn this camera around?
Oh, I see.
You see it?
Oh, you have such a great helper.
There we go.
Do you see the garden?
Yes.
Yes, we can see
So
it.
start you with the greenhouse. We actually have 39 raised beds total out here, but he's going to start you with the greenhouse and take you to the other spots. Okay. All right. So
Thank
Jack,
you. Yes.
all right, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Jackson Lane. I'm a fifth grader at Pleasant Hill Elementary in Olive Branch. I have been here since second grade helping out with Miss Powell and Miss Lyles. So back here in the greenhouse, we have tomatoes over here in this bed. And so right over here, we have this entire row of strawberries. And then over here, we have and then down here, we have potatoes right here. This is where, so with potatoes, we make potato, uh,
Pie.
we make potato pie, whenever all the potatoes are ready. And this year we had over 100 pounds of potatoes. And right back here, we have these beds for more growing. And then over here, we have our apple and orange trees all through here. And then if you come over here, we have our muscadines. And with this, with all these muscadines, we make muscadine jelly. And we have 2 rows of these all down through the garden.
We lost a few during the.
And we lost a few during the winter weather, but they're still growing. But once they are done, we'll have good jelly.
Wow, they look so healthy.
And then if we go across the road, we have some
Sunflowers.
we have sunflowers right here. And then if you come right next to it, we have cosmos on this bed. And then over here we have a mix of cosmos and other flowers. And then if we come right here, we have another bed of strawberries. And right here, we're gonna be growing all 3 types of bell peppers, green, yellow, and red. And right here we have some basil, rosemary right here. And then
If he's going too fast, y'all tell him.
we
He's
have it,
walking too fast.
Oh, you're doing so great.
and then we have it all through this bed. And then over here we have this is where we have we have a little bit of lavender right here. And then down here we have the basil. We have basil all through here. And then we have chive right here, which is just in a little area. And then and then over here we sometimes grow watermelon in that last bed right there, and we grow pumpkins in this bed, and during Halloween season. And then we have the ducks over there, if you can see them. And then right here we have the cutest little animals. We have the chickens.
Oh my God.
And we hatched these from Miss Lyles' room. So that's really cool.
From the very beginning of the
Mhm.
incubator. Tell her how many days it took.
It took 21 days for them to hatch. And then if we come all the way to the back, we have the pollinator garden, which helps a lot with all the other gardens because it brings insects and like bees, and it brings like bees, wasps, and other pollinators in. And we have through this we have a bunch of flowers through this entire garden.
That's so awesome, Jackson.
I mean, really awesome. What are we doing at our community garden? This is so impressive and amazing. It's very organized. I love that you all have the rocks. Sorry, I'm gonna shut up and let you finish. The rocks so that it's not overwhelmed with grass and weeds.
That helps a lot. And then we're about to rebuild some of these beds because some of them are getting a little old. So, and then
10 years.
they're they've been here like 10 years. And then it goes all the way back there.
So
And
10 years. Do you know how old this garden is? How long you've been working on, or how long it's been worked on and cultivated?
probably like 20 since 2014, 2013.
And it actually was when I had his sister in 2nd grade, and she's now about to go to college.
Mhm.
She's 18,
Wow.
but I had her when she was 7 going on 8. She also, and his family comes, we have our parents sign up on a calendar, Sign Up Genius, and they can get 2 days to come. And when you come, you harvest everything that's planted that you can use in your family, and you water and weed, and then you send us pictures of your family preparing the food together. And the parents are shocked what their kids will eat because of the kids planting and growing the different vegetables. And we have a lot of herbs. We love to make pesto from our basil. And we never have to replant that basil because all the seeds that fall. And majority of our flowers are perennials, so that we don't have to, plant. They come up from seeds or from their tubes.
And even though I'm in 5th grade, I'm still gonna come back next year, and I'm still gonna help throughout the year and even over the summer.
We have a question for you, Miss Susan and Jackson.
Okay.
This is from Nicole Chandler, and she wants to know, how do you water everything, or how do you make sure everything gets watered, and how did you fund this amazing garden?
Mhm.
Okay.
Can I show them the water?
Show them where we water.
Okay, I'm gonna show you the watering system. If I can turn this camera around.
Thanks, Jackson.
So right here we have this
Right.
we have this rain
Barrel.
barrel, and it collects the water from the gutter all the way up there
To the roof.
to the roof. And then this water gets used so this water right specifically is used to water the pollinator garden. And then this water right here, it has a hose that goes all the way through the garden, and it connects to sprinklers, and it also connects to the ducts so that they can get fresh water by just turning that knob right there.
Wow.
But we do not give the parents the sprinklers because they have birthed the children that can come and water this garden. So what we do is, like, if a family had an emergency, Jackson's family I'll call first. We have maybe 1 or 2 families that are always on the emergency list if someone can't come, because unless it's pouring down rain, every single day children come. Now I have parents who will come out and send me pictures with umbrellas because they said we can't miss our harvest. We've heard all about this from our child. So Miss Powell, we've got to get to come. Now I'll tell you, the number one thing is a supportive administration. Our principal loves this.
Yeah.
So if she did not, we wouldn't be able to do, all of this. The other thing is get your community, involved. We have master gardeners that love to help, and actually a couple of them are grandparents to children that are either in my Spotlight Gifted class or they are in the farm club. All right. Also, if your significant other has a passion for making his spouse happy, like mine, my husband has built the deck. Now, have you got it where they're seeing the garden in front of me?
Mhm.
Okay. See the charcoal with the thing right there. Okay, that's an outdoor kitchen. He has now built a cabinet.
Wow.
Now we're waiting on the cabinet top because don't you think that if we can clean those vegetables outside, we should cook them out here too? So we have picnic tables. Now we have to move things, and one reason we have done the beds like we have and brought in 4 tons of gravel. One reason is they're not going to move things and mow. Okay, if they weed eat, they're throwing every bit of those weed seeds right back into our garden beds, and we were squilling. So we write grants. Y'all have helped us. We look. There's and I don't mind share. I will share whatever I have, but especially if you're a title school, you could get so much more. There's so much more available. We're not a title school, so I begged my parents. I said, would y'all please be honest? There was a time in my life where my husband lost his job. We were moving. We could have easily had free lunch if our child, was in school at that time. So I'm like, please be honest, because you're keeping us, your pride keeps us from being eligible for certain grants. Okay. So there are grants available. There really are. People want to see us doing this. Word of mouth. We also use Facebook. We have a Pleasant Hill PHES spotlight Facebook page. We'd love for y'all to look at. Our school has a Facebook page that we'll also put Farm Club on, because all these children are not in our class. And so we spread the word both ways. So we have parents that text and say, hey, I'm getting rid of pots. Do you want them? We never say no. Businesses get rid of seeds at the end of the season. If they know that you will use them, they'll give them to you. They can't sell them again. They've got to give them away somewhere. So you could be the person that's getting those resources. You have to get out. Mississippi Farm School has sent a letter. They emailed us, and I'm able to use that letter because I'm going to go back to Tractor Supply and try to get garden gloves for the kids. So you can see these kids didn't choose to put the gloves on today. A lot of them just like to get in the dirt like I do, and they don't care. I mean, you can see what they're doing.
And one thing is that we're one of 2 schools in the county, one of 2 elementary schools that have a garden. We are the biggest garden elementary school
In DeSoto County. Absolutely. And there's a high school that does it with one of their programs. Center Hill High School's got a wonderful garden program. And we ask each other if there's any way we can help. She is Miss Angel Pilcher is a wonderful teacher. She has more animals. We also have chickens around on the other side where Lyles was at one time. Miss Lyles was, okay? And then we moved down to this end, and our husbands built us porches outside so kids can come out, sit, read, take notes. We use measurement, not only with cooking, but with the vegetables. We predict. We've lived and learned. Okay, we've wasted some things that we didn't realize that would not grow. We'd like to have our soil tested. We have bought compost. We have a compost bin that we use, and we have 2 of them. And then, but we do little grants. We'll buy things like that, the composting. So, but I never mind sharing. But people, farmers, people that are retiring, they'll give you things. They're ready to go buy new shovels. Well, hey, we'd love to have your older shovels. We teach garden maintenance and rules, or either they're not going to get to do this if it were not safe. So
we have nothing here that can hurt you. None of the animals can hurt you. None of the plants can hurt you. It is completely safe.
Don't you love that coming from a 11-year-old?
Love it.
Isn't that precious? So, this is our passion, my teammates and mine, and we're so thankful. The parents are so happy. They adore their children doing this. And they have gardens now at home. Many of them do. Over the years, these children, the passion has continued, and these children are now gardening at home, and the parents will still send us pictures. So it's been a true blessing.
We even sometimes use the duck eggs. We sometimes cook them as well.
and especially the chicken.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. So, but I don't mind you sharing my email or if I can get back on and answer any questions in the chat. I do not mind whatsoever. But it is so much fun. But number one, you've got to have a supportive staff that isn't telling us how much the water bill is. We try to catch the rain. We not only have 2 of the rain barrels, we also have open big buckets. And I believe these came from cattle farmers. I can't remember. Master Gardener brought us these big black buckets. So we use them to store, but we'll also use them for extra water. And so like right here.
We have another
So-
one, Jake. You just
Yeah, so they know. Yeah. And the one reason we don't want them using a sprinkler is they've got to stand there and count and give that some good watering. The raised beds can dry out sometimes faster, even though we try to use a good mix, but they can dry out faster, than in the ground. And so that's why we have people come daily and they have them checked. These kids are filling in. We're so thankful. Last year, not this past snow, but the year before, we lost every bit of the rosemary. So last year we started it again, and we've told parents, doesn't it look good? And we didn't lose it because we have a farmer who gave us little hoops and some white fabric and clothespins, and so we covered it, and we didn't lose it this year when we had another snow. So, but I'm sorry if y'all are writing comments, I cannot see them because we're out here in the sunshine, loving it.
Yeah, no problem. We're just so grateful for this beautiful tour. A few folks had some questions we shared. You've answered a lot on the resources. And about how much space is that full garden for the students?
Oh, let's say, okay, well, they know this is our side right here of the building, but you think
Like-
half an acre?
like
You'll give us something to do.
Everything combined, probably half an acre.
Because right here, we go all the way to that back corner.
Yeah.
All right. And live and learn. All right. We've had to replace some beds because they were in the way when the water was rushing. And that's one reason we wish we had rain barrels everywhere, because with the water rushing down, it made a lower area and it was destroying the wood.
And these chickens right here, they are silky chickens, which is a complete different breed of chicken. It's a mixed breed.
Yep. We love the silkies. We raise a lot of those. And then Miss Laws is actually in the greenhouse, but she's the chicken person. Okay. I love the gardening part and I like to collect eggs, but she takes care of animals, not me. Yes.
Like those ducks.
The kids do, and she does.
Those ducks back there, those
Yeah.
are Miss Lyles' ducks. And the chickens, they also belong to Miss Lyles.
And all the ducks were hatched also at our school with, from eggs. She has the a hatching project that she does every single year, and it's so much fun. And she does it live, and everybody's squealing when we're birthing babies in here. So I mean, it's a lot. It is so much fun. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, I can say that just listening to Jackson share his knowledge and confidently tour us around the garden and identify crops. I mean, this is why we do what we do. Just seeing the learning space environment that you've all created for the students is really inspiring. It makes me feel good. I'm happy to see it. And I think this is an excellent model. And that, schools or sites can work up to something like this. You've mentioned having your husband's help. You've mentioned having community help. It does involve a lot of work and community and resources. But definitely it's out there. There are resources available. So I'm just so impressed. This is, for those of you who don't know, this is our first time as a team. I think Mary Jo has been there in person, but for me, this is my first time seeing this space. So I'm excited. It's beautiful. It looks very, clean, organized, spacious. So we'd love to, share something similar for other schools who are ready to kind of expand. But yeah, beautiful.
And we have seeds we could share. So we collect from the zinnias and the cosmos. Cosmos is in so many beds, we have to pull it out and go put it where we want it. but it was from one free envelope in a child's Cheerio box, 10 years ago. Now we're learning though, you have got to stay on top of it or it'll go everywhere. So all this Tall's Cosmos. Now, then someone gave us this Mexican petunia, did not know how it spreads. So what we do is we dig up, put it in pots outside the greenhouse. We put on Facebook. Any Pleasant Hill parents, come get it. Be kind. Only get 2 or 3 plants so others can come. But we'll also do that with our cherry tomatoes, or because so many of their volunteers, they come up every single year in one bed in our greenhouse. So we share plants. We have a lot of grandparents and parents that have more flowers in their garden today because they come get our perennials. Because we only have so much room. And so, we lived and learned. We now look it up because spiderwort goes crazy. Our bee balm is covering half a bed. We,
The tire beds.
oh, he wants to show you the herbs in the different tire beds.
So right here, instead of using a wooden beds, we use tires, and we just put dirt inside of the tires. And these tires have been here for so long that you're probably not going to be able to move it. And they just turned into like a bed. And right here we have chocolate mint or regular mint.
You have to keep that in a
Yeah,
tire.
you have to, or it's going to spread like crazy.
Wow.
And our Eastern Black Swallowtails
Yes.
love our parsley and
Yeah.
fennel. So we grow certain plants to bring certain butterflies. We have milkweed for our monarch. But there are different groups that will send you free seeds. The main thing we do is if you get on Facebook and you get in any kind of garden group, a lot of times they'll say, if you just send me a self-addressed stamped envelope, we'll have seeds coming your way.
Mhm. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I am certainly full from all of this. We have about a few minutes left in our call today. If folks have any additional questions for Susan or Jackson about managing the garden or how they got it going started, please share. Susan's email is in the chat. Of course, you can reach out to any of us. As mentioned, we're going to be sharing the slides and additional resources. So if you have some questions that you can't think of right now that come up later, please reach out. I just want to give a big thanks on behalf of the team, Ms. Susan, for taking the time to share with us this beautiful garden space and just what is possible on a school garden site. And yeah, we're looking forward to keeping the conversation going. This again, folks, is a series of webinars we're going to be hosting on Farm to School 101. And today specifically, we were delving into school gardens, but we'll talk more about this and how you can build out something similar or smaller, whatever works for you. But for now, we will go ahead and wrap up and just respect everyone's time. Were there any other questions, thoughts, comments, or feedback? Oh, I think we do have a brief survey. If you guys will please stick on the call. I think Sydney will get that survey going for us. It's just a few questions, shouldn't take long at all. So please browse those survey questions and submit that poll. And Ms. Susan, thank you again. You're welcome to hang on, or if you need to hop off the call, certainly don't mind looking at
Well,
the scenery.
Thank y'all so much for doing this for us. We appreciate everything Farm to School has done. Y'all are an incredible resource. So I just want to commend you on that. We are so blessed. So thank you for everything. Okay,
Thank
we're
you.
gonna go because we got work to do, but we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Indeed. Thank you. Y'all take care. Bye, Jackson.
Bye.
Can you all see the poll on your screens?
I can see it on mine, Sydney, and I just want to say thanks to the 2 people that have completed it. 3, 4 now. Excellent job, y'all.
Thank you, everyone. And as y'all wrap up on the poll, again, just want to say thank you for joining us. We definitely hope to see you at the next one. And if you have something you want to share from your school garden program, no matter how small it is, we'd love to hear about it and feature. If you have students who'd like to talk about their gardening journey or animals or any of that, please reach out. And we'd love to get you in even on our next webinar series. Sonia does not see the poll. gonna say I'm not sure.
Didn't, last time, didn't we, figure out that if you were on your phone, that there's an icon at the bottom? Think so.
Yeah, if you're on a different device, phone or tablet, there may be an icon at the bottom. So look around for a poll quiz icon. It may look like a bar graph. Okay, Sonia's got it. Do apologize, Golden. We are not offering gift cards for this event. And hopefully with the right funding for future workshops, we'd love to offer some incentives, but not for this go round. Right.
Think you can feel free to exit after you've answered the poll. And we'll send a follow-up with the recording and with notes and resource links. We're so happy that you all joined us today.
Indeed. Take care, folks. Thank you.
Please answer the poll.
So, and it just automatically saves on the. Thank you, Michelet. Thank you, Claudina, for joining. I learned some things. Jackson was so enthusiastic. I'm like, maybe we'll do our virtual farm tour and have a child involved, like either leading the tour or students just on site. Maybe Tracy will be open to that. Aaron's yelling cooking demo in the background. That's really cool if they're gonna have an outdoor kitchen. Like they'll have everything on their school. They have the compost, the